All right, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Talking Swish. Alongside me, Larry, is over here is Steven. How the hell you doing, Steven?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm wide awake. It's 11 p.m. almost here, and I've been up for roughly 6 hours, which is kind of new for me. I've never like worked third shift or anything, but yeah, we've been trying to grind those 4 a.m. Channel Fireball PTQs.
Technically, it's on 1 a.m. To their time.
Yeah, 1 a.m. for them, 4 a.m. for us though, and yeah, so I've been, trying to adjust my sleep schedule accordingly. And, I got top 16 last night, lost in top 16, and then went to sleep around 10:30 this morning. And I'm ready to do it again tonight. So,
Nope, it should be definitely a good time. And the PT, that's something that me and you have both been a part of, and it's a good time. It's a little bit different this time being on arena, but it's definitely worth trying to get back.
yeah, I mean, no matter what, it's still a pro tour. I still want to be part of it.
It's actually a players tour.
Yeah, whatever. I'm still going to call it a pro tour, but yeah, it's technically called the players tour now.
Hey,
But either way, I want to try and get back regardless of what the circumstances are.
hey,
And
I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I can play the pro tour in my boxers.
Absolutely,
Sign
dude.
me
You'll never be
up.
able to do that again. And we've talked about too. This is, in my opinion, this is probably the easiest. Easiest with quotes. It's still not easy by any means, but it's the easiest route to the pro tour.
Oh yeah,
I think anyone will
instead
ever
of
have.
doing
So,
$150 1 day tournaments,
yeah,
that we have to get up in the morning to drive to. Instead, I could sit at home in my computer for these 5 round tournaments. I have a cut the
yeah,
top 16.
yeah. Cut to top 16.
So
30
wild.
in a 30-man event. Last night I started 1-2 and thought I was dead, and then ended up winning in round 4. And then my last opponent scooped me in because I got paired down, and I got 16th, so I still
Yeah.
made it in.
Yeah,
So
whatever works. I know the PTQ that I won had over 100 something, over 120, probably just a little bit above that.
yeah.
And that was a grind. I had to play every round. I didn't get to draw in. It was mentally draining. We were thankfully able to win.
Yeah.
But
It's funny you bring up PTQs. Speaking of PTQs, we're actually, our guest today is runner up to the champion of the PTQ that I won probably like 4 or 5. It was a long time ago, 4 or 5 years ago.
Wasn't it the first time you guys met, actually?
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
you were able to body him. Actually, the last time that you and him both played Paper Magic was at Regionals, and you actually beat him by doing 20 damage on turn 3.
Yeah, Primeval Titan is something else with
Yep.
Amulet and all that. But yeah, I mean, it's been a real grind playing these events, and I think that is a good segue, kind of leading into what our topic is today.
Yep.
Kind of about
Before we get into our topic fully, we should just bring our guest on.
Oh yeah,
As you
absolutely.
know, me and Steven are both PT participants. Over here is a multiple PPTQ participant, multiple PTQ ninth place finisher.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's done a lot of participations. He's got a lot of Arcbound Ravager playmats, but he plays a lot of top tier 3 decks like Vampires and Pioneer, and he's almost good enough to win a classic. Bring on James Johnson. How are we
How's it
doing,
going, James?
James?
Thanks a lot for the warm welcome. That was really nice.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
You know-
we always want our guests to feel comfortable and welcome on this podcast.
We did that for Ray last week. It was very great to have another PT participant with us.
Yeah.
And then, James, I know you haven't been, but dang it, you have been to a lot of opens, a lot of PTQs, and you've been close.
Yeah, and James, you've said multiple times that getting to the Pro Tour is a big goal for you, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. Yeah, talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it is.
Mhm.
It can definitely be rough at times. Ninth place sucks. Being second to Dykman was pretty rough. I've had a lot of near misses, but I do know one of the guys I used to play with a lot, and he more or less retired since he had kids. But he actually did win a 1K or a 5K once. He has a plaque and everything in his house, and I tell him all the time, I've finished second place in multiple tournaments. I've got a lot of ninths, top 16s I don't have a trophy or a plaque like you do. And he told me he'd much rather have my consistency than he'd trade his plaque for all the top 16s I have. And so I guess that's some consolation.
Yeah, consistency is actually huge. Like I'll be going over that actually more next week because we're doing an episode on mental health and stuff for
Yeah.
when it comes to Magic. Consistency is a very big part that actually I would trade like stuff like I might not trade the PT appearance because that's something we all thrive for, of course. And I got very lucky that day. I played a deck that took a lot of variance on my side and got some lucky pairings. So that's what you got to do. Sometimes you just got to run hot.
Yeah, for sure. How have you been doing in the Channel Fireball events, James?
Yeah, I notoriously have never had Moto on my laptop.
Well, it's not a Moto.
Yeah, it's
James,
actually Arena.
Yeah, I have not.
You're saying you don't play Arena? You're saying you don't have an account? Because I think I
do.
recall.
Yeah, I have quite a large collection on Arena, but
Oh, really?
I only played Arena for practice for paper events. And
what did you just say when your aspirations was? Was it to go to the PT?
It is.
Aren't they doing $10 on PT qualifiers right now 3 times a day?
Yeah, I think we already mentioned they're probably one of the easiest routes too to get to the PT ever, and they probably will never be easier ones.
Well, with that being said,
we'll come back to this.
We'll come back to this a little bit later in the show. Today we're going to be actually talking about where all 3 of us are competitive Magic grinders.
Yep.
Not pros by any means, especially James, but none of us are pros, real talk. We are all part of a Magic team outside the west side of Michigan called Swish Gaming.
Yep.
Hence why we got this fancy new logo our buddy slash teammate Danny Pearson was able to make. He does really good with our graphics,
it looks awesome. So thanks, shout out to him. Thanks.
Yeah. Keep it up, Danny, for sure. But no, competitive grinding. How long have you been grinding, Steven?
I'd say I think I probably started actually grinding competitively my sophomore year of college, which would have been 4 or 5 years ago. I qualified for my first pro tour when I was 18 or 19, but I didn't actually start grinding, I wouldn't say, till I was about 21 when I had more of the means to do so, because when I was that age, it's tough. You're first of all, you're just getting out of high school at that point, and you're busy with other stuff, so it's
right.
It was, and I didn't really know people at that point, and when you're that young, you can't really.
Yeah, and we're gonna be able to we're gonna be getting into that because that's a big part of competitive grinding.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, was the 18 one when you guys encountered each other?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was your very first one? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know how long you guys have been associating because you're 25 now?
Yep.
Okay, so that's 7 years or whatever. What about you, James? How long you been playing? Well, competitive grinding, I should say.
I've been playing since about 2010.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't really competitive at first. Most people aren't when they first get in.
Right, of course.
It wasn't until about the time Dykman and I met in that PTQ. It was a little bit before that, maybe a year or so before that. Before I started going to some big events, and even then it was only stuff in a few hours with me. I wasn't driving to New York or anything.
Right.
And it was always part time though. Card availability was an issue. Being a poor college student, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't until about a year and a half ago when I really started grinding hard. I had cards. I had time. I was actually pretty much every open I went to. I never missed a weekend for the last year and a half until COVID.
Right. Yeah, COVID. We've mentioned that in the last few episodes, how COVID has really changed the dynamic of
It's
Magic
definitely changed the dynamic, but there's still plenty of events out there to be hopping in on, and we're doing that. At least us two are. So.
Yep. And the competitive grinding never stops, for a true grinder. I know I've been grinding myself nonstop for the last couple years. Hence why I beat James out this year in the top Planeswalker points, and the last time we'll ever have that race. Just saying, top 10 in the world, and that shows how much I play Magic. So
yeah, a lot of Magic.
Yep, and hey, all that time in Planeswalker points paid off. I made it to the PT, thankfully, before everything hit.
That's awesome, dude. That's really good. I'm glad you stuck to it and queued for the PT.
Yep,
and kept working and playing those events.
Oh yeah, and we're still playing these ones, even though sometimes Magic Variants makes you want to quit because that program sucks. But regardless,
the game's really frustrating sometimes for sure. I think either this stuff just happens. It's part of Magic.
Good thing it isn't actually on Moto because I would have just sold my collection. I would have sold my collection.
Yeah, you were really angry, man. I was really angry last night.
I was pretty angry, but we're still playing. And we're gonna keep going. But when it comes to competitive Magic, it does take a lot to do because Magic's an expensive game, and if you add traveling into it, Like, I remember when I first started grinding, I didn't have a group.
Yeah.
So I was paying all my gas or all my travel.
Yeah.
There was like, before I started grinding a couple years ago, I was going to big tournaments like in India and stuff, and I was taking like Greyhounds and stuff.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, because I didn't have a car yet or anything.
Yeah.
So I was taking a Greyhound. I was
crazy.
paying for my own hotel room because I didn't have a crew or anybody. So my Magic weekends, if you have, let's say I was doing the Open and Classic.
Yeah.
You have the Greyhound ticket, which was, let's say, $100 there for round trip.
Brutal.
And then you got the hotel room for a couple nights. So that's going to be at least $100 if you get a very poor hotel.
Yeah, at least.
So
yeah.
I'm spending $300-$400 alone for one weekend. That's not counting my food or anything.
That's not counting your $1,000 deck either.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So
that's a disaster.
it is so expensive to grind alone, and that's
Yeah.
why there's like such a big benefit to Magic grinding.
Yeah.
If you want to be competitive, I think you want to find a crew, you want to find association, because money management with Magic is going to make things easier to long term. James, what do you do particularly to try to be more safe with the money when it comes to Magic grinding?
Right. So anybody that knows me knows I'm
Cheap ass, yeah.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah.
I prefer frugal, efficient, background in economics, stuff like that.
But if you look in the dictionary,
Or cheapskate.
yeah, cheapskate, cheap ass, tomato.
Yeah, but obviously there's lots of things you can do. I remember, obviously anybody that knows me knows I'm not a people person. It took me a long time to even get on a team or to associate with people. The first couple of years I played, I would just go by myself to the tournament, not talk to anybody, and then go home at the end of the day.
Can I pause you a second, James?
Um,
You're telling me you're not a people person, and we have online events, and you're not playing
What?
online events? Continue.
okay. But so back before I had a team and all that stuff, there was lots of things you could do to save money. I remember, especially, I didn't have a choice back then because I was a poor college student. But he's talking about like a hotel room. I remember there was lots of events in the early days of me playing where I didn't get a hotel room. Like, okay, well, hotel's $100 a night. I can't afford that, and my deck and everything else. So I would borrow my parents' van, take the back seats out, drive to the event the night before, stop in the Walmart parking lot, and lay a sleeping bag out and sleep in the van overnight before going to the tournament in the morning. And just not pay hotel fees at all.
Yep,
and
I've actually done that myself, and I slept in my car.
Yeah, and people eat out all the time. There's a lot of food budget, so I would just take like a 24-pack of water bottles and a 6-pack of like Soylent, which is.
Can you explain what Soylent is for
right,
the viewers or listeners? I should say.
Soylent, for those that haven't heard it, it's basically a food replacement. It's a meal in a bottle.
Okay. So is it like Slim Fast, or is it a little bit more intense?
No, it's total nutrition. So like you drink 5 bottles of it, or whatever it is, and it's exactly 2,000 calories over the course of your daily.
Okay. So can you live on that without eating if you wanted to?
Yeah, you can. So that's what I did on weekends for Magic. I would just live on Soylent and water all weekend, sleeping in a Walmart parking lot.
Does it make you full?
Yeah.
Does it? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not super familiar. I do, of course, we go to Magic tournaments together, so obviously I see you drinking them. The first time I saw it, I was like, what is he drinking? I was like, I had no idea what it was. I was a little confused. I was like, I thought it was drugs in the bottle or something. I don't know. No, realistically, but yeah, when you don't have like a team, you don't have friends in Magic, like I said, I slept in the car myself before.
Yeah,
it's not the ideal thing to do. Actually, what's funny, mention that there's a little mini story. So back, Steven lost his wallet in my car when we went to an IQ one weekend, right? Mm-hmm. Well, we drove back to that weekend. I didn't really know Steven at the time because we've only been on one tournament together and stuff. And Steven hit me. I had posted in it's either our team group or something like that about, hey, I'm going to be doing this IQ tomorrow. And then me and James was talking about going, and Steven was like, hey, my girl's out of town this weekend. Why don't I go? He's like, what time are you picking me up? Just assuming I'm picking him up. I live in Lansing at the time. From Grand Rapids is about an hour from here. So I was like, okay, I'll pick him up, whatever. It's not a big deal. Well, I didn't know him, and I was like, man, I was in Lansing, and I was like, I don't know if I want to get up in the morning and drive to Grand Rapids. So I was like, I think I'm just going to drive to Grand Rapids. I drove here to Grand Rapids, and I actually slept down at the Meyer parking lot in my car. 'Cause-
That's funny. You hadn't told me that story
Yeah,
yet.
I didn't. Yeah, it never came up. So I just slept into my apartment because I was like, I should ask him if he has a couch to crash on, but I didn't really know him at the time, so I was like,
Yeah, and for those who don't know, now he's living in my house.
yeah.
So.
Fast forward just a few months, and this it's just a wild chain of events. But yeah, like sleeping in the car is a normal thing.
And that's another thing about having a team is $100 a night for a hotel is pretty steep. But if you have a carpool of 4 people, $25 a night is a lot more reasonable.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Also, I want to claim some. I need some credit for that because anyone who knows Dykman knows that living with Dykman or just being around Dykman it's something else, and it's an experience.
It's a good
So
time.
a couple months ago, I told Larry because he was looking for a place to live. I'm like, oh, you should talk to Dykman. Maybe you should crash with him for a little while, and then COVID happens. So I immediately get Larry to stay with Dykman, and then he gets quarantined with him, which that gives that's score one for me.
But me and Steven has been doing a lot of brewing in our head about how we were gonna take this out on James eventually, and now we have a hour and a half together.
To ask him why in the hell is he not playing any online events?
Yes.
That's just going to keep coming up. For
sure,
yeah, I'm very confused.
Yeah, we're gonna get in. We'll get more into that. But when it comes back on the track for what we're talking about, yeah, $25 a night is such a big difference. I know we've gone to tournaments like between our team. We went on a trip before this COVID started where we had like a couple rooms. We had like five people rooms, I believe it was, something like that. And it just made the amount so much cheaper. And then sometimes we get these rooms that have free breakfast. I know, James, you're pretty good at booking the rooms. I remember the first time we were actually going on a trip. You came to dinner with me and Ray. We in Chicago.
Yep.
And I sat there. Me and you didn't know each other. And I said, hey, I'll book the room for Atlanta. And I was like, how do you feel about bed bugs? Because you didn't know my humor yet. And you gave me this look like, are you serious? You just gave me this dead stare like, what?
So funny.
It was great. And that's what you got to do. That bringing that story up is mainly because you have to interact with people you never, because me and James didn't even know each other at that time. James's greatest decision was getting another Steven in his life.
Oh, yeah. Yep. A slightly different Steven. Someone who trolls him in a more intentional way.
Yeah.
Mine is usually very accidental.
Yeah, mine is intentional. I wake up in the middle of the night thinking of a way to troll and be like, oh, we're tasing him today.
That's funny. For sure. I mean, when you're
gotta meet new people.
When you're doing the magic grind, you definitely are going to end up meeting new people usually. And if you decide that you want to start grinding, the best way to do it is just meet some people at your local game store or whatever at F&Ms and stuff. And usually there will be a few other people with similar interests, and you become friends with them and start doing stuff with them. And then you guys usually meet more people. They have friends, you have friends that join in on it, and yeah, and that's kind of how it starts. That's how it started for me.
Yep. Yeah, mine was the same. It was actually when I was working on 12 hours, 7 days a week at a factory, so I didn't play Magic for like over a year straight. Obviously, if you're working that kind of work schedule, I want to know how you're playing some Magic.
Yeah, for sure.
I would occasionally do when I worked second shift, I would get out of work at 11 after going in at 11 and do a pre-release at midnight just so I can get some Magic in my life and then go to work like 3 hours after that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, for the kids at home, if you're watching, don't do that. You will burn out.
Yeah.
But so when I got off it, I actually that's when me and Ray actually started getting way closer than we were beforehand because we started grinding more tournaments together after that, and it was nice. Him and a couple of our buddies did some tournaments as well. And yeah, actually one of the buddies, that's who convinced me to play the mono red in Pittsburgh. And I ended up losing a winning in for top 8 at PTQ, which got me the drive to start grinding tournaments.
Yeah.
And going from there. And that's all it takes. Like if you can find like a new nice core group that you can consistently do trips with, even if they're just like splitting the gas for day trips like from Lansing to Detroit, which is an hour away.
Right.
$5 for gas instead of having to fill your whole tank, it carries over.
Oh yeah,
and then also having that larger community with it makes some card availability that much easier.
Oh,
Steven, when's the last time you owned a Magic deck?
Dude, I can't even tell you. I don't own many cards at all, and I think that's pretty common for most grinders, or at least a lot of grinders. I think that's
Yeah.
pretty common.
I know,
Yeah.
me personally, I don't think I own a single deck anymore. I don't think so.
Yeah,
Though I have a dredge deck on me, but it's actually my buddy's foreign deck.
yeah. I don't currently own a deck. I've considered at some point maybe owning like some sort of weird mono white Pioneer deck that I can take to locals or whatever. But for the most part, no, I don't own a deck right now and don't really plan on owning one anytime soon, other
Yeah.
than maybe that. But
And now we're on a team, so we have that going for us as well.
mhm.
And we don't want to really use the team as an example because it's hard to find a team and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
at the beginning.
You
You
need to
should
get a
never
little
put your
lucky.
focus on that.
Yeah.
Your main focus is just trying to find that core group.
Yeah.
That's going to be
Because
like
either
your
way, I mean,
biggest
like
key.
when you have a core group that goes to events together and stuff, that's close to. I mean, that's kind of what our team. I mean, our team's a little more organized than that, obviously now. But that's like the start of how those things happen. You just get a group of people who all want to play together, and you can share your cards and stuff. And yeah, I mean, it helps a ton.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. Yeah, and I know we all came on the team at the same time, which
Yep.
is cool, and that helps because we were already grinding.
Yep.
And was there any other benefits that you could really think of, like that really helps with the competitive grinding aspect?
In regards to being on a team.
No, just on like grinding in general. What makes it easier to grind? Like I know being able to money management is like the biggest
Sure.
key in my opinion. Then you got the card availability, which makes things easier because it's hard to own because the formats change so much.
Yeah.
That it's hard to own every good deck. If you do, and you're balling like that to own every Magic deck, or you've been playing that long, congrats! Like kudos to you.
I would say
that's awesome.
one thing that helps me specifically, and it really helps to have a person in the group who's like a good like organizer or someone who's in charge. That's what James is usually for us. Like he finds our hotels, he drives us most of the time. Whenever I go with James, he drives, so I never have to worry about driving. Which
Thank
is
God.
awesome.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah,
I was in the car with Steven the other day for the first time. The speed limit was 50. I swear we were going 25.
Yeah, I go a little below or at speed limit.
I
Most
guess
of the
if
time,
half
so.
is a little below, then yes, he does. This man also doesn't know how to change a tire, by the way. Just putting it out there.
Yep, no,
Again,
I don't know that.
That's another thing about being with a group, though. Even with your group, if you're with a group of friends and it's not like an official team, you're just a team without sponsorship or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what we
Everybody-
are, honestly, right now. Like,
Yeah.
we're not
Yeah.
sponsored or anything. We're not Lotus Box level,
Mhm.
but we're a group of
Yeah.
guys and girls that want to get together and have the same goal, and that's grind Magic or play Magic
Yeah.
in some form. Not
Yeah.
all of us are even competitive grinders on this team, which is crazy. Some players, which we'll meet more of them later, are strictly like they like the casual game, or
Yeah.
they like to play these brews. But they bring so much because they got a whole different like.
It'll be
angle
really
in
cool
the
to
game.
bring when we have episodes where we bring them on, because I have like never. I was a casual player for maybe like a few months when I started, and then pretty much started, going to F&Ms and being like more competitive than just tabletop. So
Yeah, no, for sure. Like I couldn't even tell you the last time I played kitchen table Magic.
that's
Even at kitchen table with my buddies, I was playing Abs and Aggro Standard from
I was
cons,
probably like 17,
and they
or
weren't having
18.
fun. So,
But that was a good point that Dykman was making, though, as far as having a group of people, like, that does make grinding a lot easier, and everybody has their attributes that they can contribute to the cause. Like, for instance, like Dykman said, I tend to be pretty organized for the most part. I have cards. Like, they don't own cards. I actually do own several decks.
you do actually, yeah.
I have a really great card that I researched for Magic trips.
Yeah, that's
Which
that's
is
humorous.
fuel efficient. It has a ton of room. It seats 5 people comfortably. It has a huge trunk.
Super roomy card.
But at the same time,
Really nice, yeah.
like back when we were grinding all the time before all of this nonsense, my schedule, I didn't have any time during the week because I worked 3 12s Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So those days are basically gone. And I work night shift. So Thursday, I'm doing anything I have to do, like errands during the week, resetting my sleep schedule, stuff like that. And then Friday, we're on the road and I'm driving. So I can knock out a 10-hour drive, no problem. Like that's one of the things I can do to contribute. But I don't have time to test with all that.
Right.
So whereas I can be organized, I can book hotels, I can drive, I can provide transportation, I have decks. Dykman gets to test a lot during the week. So I remember lots of events where I could do those things, but I could not test it all during the week.
Yep.
And Dykman has time to test.
James is out here trying to play blue-white control, freaking elixir of immortality. And
we'll be covering that when we actually go over some stories about the road.
But remember that the first Open, what was it? I think it was January last year when we played Rakdos Aggro.
Oh yeah, that deck was
We
sweet.
were just talking about that the other day.
We brought that up because I've been playing.
Judith.
Yeah, he's playing. Larry's been playing a slightly bigger and not much bigger version of Red Black Sack than my version that I've been playing in the PTQs. Two of my three top, well, I guess I've top 16 4 of them technically after the last time, but two of my top 16s I've only done three. I played six and topped three, but either way, I've been playing like a Luris Sack deck still, which is like, pretty much as small ball as you can go. But yeah, we brought up that red black deck that we played at that Open, Larry and I did, because he's playing Judith in his, and the red black deck's been sweet for sure.
And that Open, you and I both cashed that Open, and I didn't test that deck at all, really.
Yeah.
I didn't have time to. So you did the majority of the play testing, you put the list together, you fine-tuned it, and then we showed up there. I drove the whole way, we used my car, and both of us cashed the event.
Yep.
Like, we both contributed, and we both cashed the event.
Yeah, for sure.
And, again, being not a people person at all, but the first few years I grinded, I loathed the idea of, anybody helping me or interacting with people.
Oh, that's like a new grinder. The biggest, that's like a big mistake of new grinders, because I did the same thing where you're like, no, I got this, because I need to be a grinder. I have this mindset.
That's a big mistake with Magic players in general, is being afraid to ask for help.
Ego.
You can't
it gets in the way a lot. And we all still have it to an extent now. Oh, yeah. We all do it. It just happens. But yeah, that's a thing. Like, that brings up a good point, I should say, that if you want to be actually get to a consistent level in competitive grinding, is you got to put your ego down a few tabs. Like, I can get it. If you're going to have that kind of mindset, you've been on PT multiple, times and stuff, you probably have earned it where you might have a good, mindset. But if you're just getting into competitive Magic, don't have an ego.
The thing that's important to remember is no matter how good anyone is at anything, they're usually wrong some of the time. Honestly, a pretty good amount of the time. It's part of human nature.
We thought we were right multiple times by playing certain things, and it turns out wrong. Yeah. That's just life and Magic in general. What can you do?
An example of that, we were just talking about the red-black deck. I think, honestly, I feel like both of us could have maybe top-aided had I been a little more ready for the Simic Nexus matchup, which, I got bodied by the 2 times I played at that tournament, I think. And
really? And then with your aggro deck?
Well, so this deck was more kind of like a curve out aggro deck that went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. It went Gutter Bones or Knight into Dreadhorde Butcher. Robber wasn't a card yet. Right. And then it had a couple Lava Coils or something. So it had a little bit of removal. I can't remember if we had another 2-drop. I don't think we did. I think it was just Dreadhorde Butcher was the only 2-drop creature, if I remember right. Our 3-drops were Judith and I think Midnight Reaper. I think we had some Midnight Reapers in there.
It was right after.
4-drops were Rekindling Phoenix, and we had some Bantus in there too. And then, there's a splattering or removal spells. And, our sideboard, we had Duress, but that was not enough at all against Veil of Summer. So we definitely needed more than just the Duresses. I'm not exactly sure how we could have made it better, but I'm certain I could have. So
regardless, still Gafina, it just brings up you were able to tune in and spend the time during the week where he wasn't able to.
Yeah.
And everybody has characteristics on when you have a group of people, and that's just the benefits. Mm-hmm. Now, we've covered a lot of these benefits, so let's talk about some cons that involve competitive grinding.
Oh, man.
There is a few cons. We're not going to try to get super negative on you, and be on a complaint train. But there is cons.
I would say one of the biggest, and I brought this up this morning to you, is you get a little burned out. Magic gets a lot less fun when it feels like you have to do it, I think. And honestly, part of me doesn't even want to play some of these events, but I know it's just really foolish to not do it. So I'm going to do it because my goal ultimately is play on the PT. Mm-hmm. But, it's... you get burned out. You get tired of...
Yeah, even if you're burned out right now, if you say, like if you tell a podcast or something that your aspirations are to be on the PT,
Yeah.
or you say that you want to be on the PT,
Yeah.
and you're not playing these events, it's silly, even if you're burned out.
Yeah,
that's another problem.
I would feel like I literally would be doing myself a disservice.
Exactly.
Like we've mentioned this multiple times. We've said this. I genuinely believe this is going to be the easiest period of time to ever get on the PT. Now, that's not taking anything away from anyone who cues this way, because it's still very difficult to qualify for the Pro Tour. You're still a solid Magic player if you're going to the Pro Tour. Like that's a huge accomplishment for a player, no matter what. Like
Right.
even if it's a 30-man tournament, only one person wins. If you assume the odds are the same for everybody, their odds are like 3.5% to win the tournament. Like it's still really tough to do.
Oh, I agree.
So you know,
burning out's just a thing. I've burned out many times, and the problem that I had when I burned out, which I'll be going more in depth next week, is I was burned out, but I couldn't stop because I had the mindset about being a competitive grind. I'm a competitive grinder. I have to keep grinding because I want to get to the PT. I want to do all these things. So I would keep playing. I was putting myself through this big old whirlwind of negativity that comes with it, and then it just messes with your mental.
And we'll
and like I said, I'm going to have more next week.
For sure.
I really don't want to dig too deep into that, but that's a big point. And then time consuming. It's so time consuming. There's so many weekends. I'm like, there's times I was on the road every weekend for months.
Yeah.
Like, don't matter where I was at. There was either SCG and NRG and Grand Prix, some little 1Ks or IQs or whatever.
Yeah, when you're grinding, sometimes if you're going far enough, you're literally home less than you're on the road. Like you're on the road starting, Thursday morning if you're going on like a 10-hour trip or whatever, like when we went to New York. You're going on like a 10-hour trip, so you gotta leave really early because we were doing one of the Magic, GPs. We'll keep calling them GPs, but now called Magic Fest. But we're going to a GP.
Technically still GPs, by the way.
Oh, that's right. They're
Grand Prix at a Magic Fest.
So
that's what we said.
Either way, so we wanted to play the PTQ on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, rather than do the main event. And so we had to leave Thursday morning, and then we didn't get home until Monday around 11 or noon.
No, we got back at 4 in the morning or something like that. Usually, I've been.
There have been some where I've gotten back at 10 or 11.
I've noticed with James, we went to Atlanta, we went to New York, and we got back at 3 in the morning.
Sometimes 6.
That's what happens when you go 15 over.
I don't never notice it sometimes
through ice storms, through rainstorms. Just slamming on.
James is good. Writing his term reports while driving. Kids don't do that. That's stupid.
Not the best. Thinking.
But no,
for sure.
Like I said, it's time consuming. Like I said, I don't want to go on a big old thing. I don't want to make this sound like we don't want people to do it. But you just have
it's important,
to be,
it's really important, and I'm pretty sure, I can't remember if it was Owen Turtenwald one time or someone on a Limited Resources podcast. It was either Turtenwald or LSV. We're also having a similar conversation like this, and LSV was saying something along I think it was LSV. LSV was saying, it's important to know what the negatives of it are, because I think sometimes people just think it's going to be all fun and games, and it's definitely not all fun and games.
It's not all fun and games. And like I said, it's a lot of stress.
It's important to know that going in. It's really important to know that going in.
I agree.
I definitely, like you said, we don't want to deter people from doing that, but it is very important to understand that there are plenty of negatives along with the positives, especially when you're on streaks where you're not doing well, because then you're just really in the hole money-wise, even if you are splitting between 5 people.
If you're not splitting entry fees. Remember, entry fees are $50, even more at the Grand Prix. Who knows how much you're going to be.
Let's assume you don't do anything relevant for 3 months and you're playing tournaments every weekend. If we're just talking about entry fees, if you went to 12 opens in a row, do the math, 50 times 12, you're losing.
And most likely, if you're on a very cold streak, you're doing 2-point weekends. What I mean by 2-point weekends,
you're doing classics too.
They have a point system in Star City. You get a point for the entry at the Open, a point for entry at the Star City. That's a James Weekend 101 right there. that's how he got his buy, not by being good, but by consistently playing every weekend.
Yeah, elaborate on that for us, James.
Yeah.
Um,
How has the buys at the SCG tour been this year? I know you worked very hard to get it.
Yes, although Dykman and Larry are the high points of the amount of taste I get on a regular basis, life in general is like that for me usually. Like, I hated playing through Hogak. That format was miserable. Like, Hogak Summer was terrible. It hurt my will to keep playing the game. So I just kept telling myself, it's okay. I'm going to get that top 64 leaderboard. I'm going to have a buy all 2020. And I got to use, I think, 2 of them because of the team events. And then the entire year was canceled.
Yeah.
So...
Now, I don't know. Have they made any announcement? Are they gonna, like, when it eventually does pick back up in paper? Are we all gonna still have those buys?
I'm sure they'll make announcements.
I would assume we will.
I think everything's gonna carry over. I think they're gonna just honor the leaderboard for buy purposes. They're gonna honor that leaderboard.
The only other thing I could see them doing is just like totally reset it all. But that doesn't.
I think they should just remove buys. Period.
Yeah, I could see that.
I think buys are actually bad for the game.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my opinion. I know people are going to be. That's why I'm actually excited for Grand Prix when they come back because we won't have buys no more.
No,
I personally think buys are bad for the game. Yeah. I'm not going to change my view on it. Like I said, I don't expect anybody to jump on board and be like, "Oh, you're right, yeah, Team Larry." But
no, when you really think about it, I definitely understand what you're saying because I think we're talking right now about how it is to like start the grind. And so that's like appealing to a lot of like new players or people who are looking to start being competitive. And, you know, it's nice if those players are on an even playing field when they get to these kind of events. But if you have buys, they're already a few steps behind, which sucks for sure.
Right.
And, you know, they're already going to be less experienced and probably not quite as good at the game to start to begin with, which puts them at a disadvantage. And then you also tack on the buys. You know, I understand that for sure. And it also it kind of it sets it up where these tournaments are like it's easier for the same people to keep consistently doing well, which is kind of lame because it's nice to have some.
And I think it just challenges you your skill level on can you consistently do well if you don't have buys the ones that because I do
those
still see people
huge benefits
I still see people that don't have buys I'll see like a BBD or somebody like that go to an open and easily get a top finish in the open because their skill level is provided there where they're like, hey, I don't need the buys, I'm still gonna be here. Go ahead.
I think we're still talking about this also ties into the negative aspects of Magic. Like for instance, next week, you guys are going to be talking about mental health and all that stuff.
Right.
And there's definitely things you can do to help with that. But, no matter what kind of perspective you have, when, you take ninth on breakers, which I've done, you lose, some clown beats you in the finals with PTQ, or,
like going all in on Pack Rat against the Supreme Verdict, Planar, whatever other rat you had.
I remember
the Cyclonic Rift, I think you had like 2 of those.
We'll talk about that after this, because we're going to be, for those that don't know, we're going to be doing road stories, so we'll bring that up.
So like I was saying, when you whiff, on 12 answers in the top 6 cards of your deck or something like that, it doesn't matter what kind of perspective you had, that still hurts, it's still rough. And again, for buys, I can see the argument for not having them, but I think there are some positive aspects. Like, for instance, if you drive 10 hours to go to New York to play in some GP, you've been grinding online, you have a deck that's completely tuned to the metagame, and you play against Timmy with his F&M deck, which, and this is happening where I've gone an event and played and round 1 of a GP, when I was first starting, and I had a control deck, and I played against a guy that was running 4 main board slaughter games for Sphinx's Revelation and Verdict and all this. It was 4 main board duress. And I literally asked him afterwards, I'm like, what is this deck? And he just tells me, he's like, oh, I'm a local guy. I saw there was a big tournament in my town, so I wanted to go to it. And I just hate control decks, which, are at my F&M. So I just played deck to beat control decks. And he knows he's not going to day 2. He's just there to have fun, which, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's where buys are a good thing, because in my head, when I'm thinking, I just practiced, I have this tuned meta deck I put all this work into. I drove 10 hours. I paid entry. to have my tire blown up round 1 with terrible breakers for the rest of the event because I got paired against Timmy because buys don't exist, and I'm thinking about walking in front of traffic, that's an argument for buys. So there's two sides to it.
But the good news is now you're in the losers bracket and you're not playing against that deck again. And with the high skill caliber that you possess, you'll be able to easily ride out the rest of it in 7-1 or 8-1 that tournament. Right?
I mean, and that can happen. I've certainly gone 1-2 into making day 2.
Oh yeah,
I've done that.
But still,
it's a good feeling too.
But like in that moment when you start off 0-1 to your event in that kind of fashion, like it's something else.
Man, I speaking of Timmy with an F&M deck. So one of the funniest stories that I have personally is I went to an F&M one time testing for an Open as well. In this case I was at F&M, not at the Open, but I'm testing for an Open and I'm playing Sun and Moon. And for those who don't know, Sun and Moon was like a Blood Moon, Chandra, like a mid-range like prison modern deck that just tried to lock people out with like ley lines and main deck Rest in Peace, all these really like strange cards. But at the time, Infect and Dredge were like the best decks, and it was pretty good against both those. And round 1, I play against a guy who has all basic lands. He just came to the event, to have some fun, and he's playing all forests and mountains. So my Blood Moons are dead. I'm a Chalice of the Void deck, and he's playing a bunch of random 3s and 4s and just all sorts of crazy stuff. All his creatures are gorillas, and he ends up beating me. I can't remember for the life of me what the card was that just smoked me, but there was this ape that I couldn't kill with sweepers because it could regenerate, and I was playing Days and Rats because Humans was also a deck at this time, and I wanted my sweepers to be the one they wouldn't meddling mate. So I'm playing Day of Judgment, and this guy has this stupid monkey that I can't kill because it regenerates. Blood Moons do nothing. Chalices do nothing. My deck is totally trash against him. And after the match, he goes, "Man, what do you think of my Harambe deck?" And I'm just like, "Oh my God, are you kidding me?" And I was like, "Man, yeah, it's a cool deck, dude. Nice. What else are you gonna do?" But anyway.
Yeah, that's like that. When I was doing testing for Pioneer, and I was playing against like mono red decks. I was playing Mainboard Damping Spear, and I was playing Lotus.
Yeah.
Oh, buddy.
So
you want to talk
bad.
about angry?
That's so
Oh,
wild.
man, I was so mad.
That is so aggressive.
No, but
You're already a mono red deck. Like, you should already probably be okay against Lotus Breach anyway.
He said, no, not today.
He wasn't playing around.
He's like, I'm done with combo.
Some people mean business, dude. Yeah, you gotta respect that. But
since we're in the storytelling mode, the next part that we're going to be doing is we're going to talk about some stories from the road.
Yep.
Give people a little insight of the fun that could be involved and the tasing of James Johnson.
Well, they've already, I'm sure, noticed the tasing that occurs for James Johnson.
I think the best way to start is by the first trip, the only trip that all three of us went on together.
Yep.
And that was New York this year.
Yeah, that was a wild trip.
That was a good time.
Yeah, so like we mentioned earlier, it was like a 10-hour drive. We leave early Thursday morning. James had just gotten out of work. So he hops in the back of the car and sleeps. And Larry is an Uber driver. So he's like, oh, whatever, I'll drive for the majority of the beginning. And not even an hour and a half, 2 hours into the trip, we get pulled over. And James, the cop comes up to the window and goes, "Is he all right back there?" And we're like tapping his shoulder, and he's not waking up because he's only been sleeping for an hour and a half or whatever. He's deep in sleep. We can't wake him up, and finally he wakes up, and he's just like, "Are you serious, Larry?" James has never been pulled over on any of these trips.
It's so
the first time someone else drives his car, we get pulled over for being too close to the car in front of us.
Right, which was a BS call. Anyways, it's an Ohio cop. For those, I know there's a lot going on. We're not going to get into the political stuff that's going on right now. But just know, Ohio cops, you suck.
Yeah,
That has nothing to do with anything that's going on right now. That's for pulling me over for some BS.
Yeah.
But
there's rumor that Ohio cops don't like people from Michigan anyway, so
Right.
it's possible. But
they have Toledo. That's why, because they're mad they won it. They're like, no, we got ripped off. How dare you?
yeah, so that was a crazy start to the trip.
Yeah.
For sure. Really. Fun.
Yeah, James woke up looking like The Walking Dead. He looking like Rick.
Oh, he was so angry.
Looking, where's Carl?
Yeah.
No, that was a great way to start. Eventually, James took over the wheel, like after he got his full sleep. You know, had to get some beauty sleep. Obviously, as we look at him now, he didn't sleep long enough.
Well, his hair's certainly long enough.
I know he's got some long hair right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we get there probably like late in the. I know it's sundown by the time we get there. Obviously, we're getting to New York or whatever. And I did enjoy that the traffic got a little heavier because James hates traffic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I know we get there because remember, Steven, I've never been on a trip with you.
Yeah.
So we go and we're like, we probably should go get some food. So we just go over to Cheeseburger in Paradise.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We go grab some food. We're like, hey, we need to get some testing in. So this is the whole purpose of this weekend. It's Pioneer Triple Play. It's a sealed main event, but there's a Triple Play PTQ thing they're doing now. So you get a discount on PTQs and stuff if you do all three, and then you get some bonus stuff or whatever. So anyways, I decided I'm going to play Elves, and I know that deck ain't good, but it's going to be super fun to play.
Yep.
Over here on the other end, Steven's playing Mono Black, which we'll get more into that deck a little bit.
Yeah. Mono Black aggro.
Yeah, Mono Black, for that don't know, a bunch of 1-drops, 2-drops. Yeah.
Yep.
Just super low to the ground.
After Copter had been banned.
Yep. And James over here decides he's going to play blue-white with Elixir of Immortality because obviously he's taking some drugs. So we're playing, me and him's up against each other.
It was one of my favorite standard decks of all time.
That is true. I get that.
I was really biased. I just wanted to play that deck again.
All right, so we're in the room. We're on the deck. Steven is sitting
right behind James.
I was going to
right
say
next to
Indian
James.
style, but my daughter corrects me all the time. It's actually crisscross applesauce
Oh,
nowadays.
yeah. Yep. Sitting crisscross applesauce on the bed.
Yep.
Watching some Magic. It's a really interesting game. It's close. And James draws a card, and I'm getting all excited. I think it's like a foil. I can't even remember what I thought it was. I thought it was some sort of sweet planeswalker, like an alternate art planeswalker. And I look more, and I'm like, my jaw just drops, and I'm like, Elixir? What? Elixir of Immortality? What are you doing? Your deck's already not good for this event, and you're playing Elixir of Immortality? Come on, man.
It does a lot against Inverter, though.
I believe that. Yeah, for sure.
It gains you some life before they kill you.
Oh, yeah. And against Lotus Breach, for sure.
Yeah.
Against Mono Red, when they have 7 power of creatures in play, when you play an Elixir to pop it, you're only going to be down 2 life and 3 mana. So that's cool. Yeah. No, it was... Oh, my God, I was so mad.
So
I was like, are you kidding
and then
me?
I was bodying him with Elves, which...
It's a creature deck, for those who don't know, and... the blue-white control deck with a million sweepers in it, you would assume would be good against the creature deck. And it felt kind of not good against the creature deck.
That's why you have Elixir. You can Supreme Verdict them 5 times.
Yeah, you played your Elixir, you popped your Elixir, and I think he attacked you for lethal on the next turn. So it was actually worse than Fog would have been. It was just straight up worse than Fog, which also would have been terrible, but at least it would have given you another draw step.
Yeah, but that was how that night went. James eventually switched, and then he went from one bad deck. He was like, this deck is unplayable. Blue-white's not good. So I'm going to choose another unplayable deck called Vampires.
Yeah, so I will say I think Mono Black Vampires was definitely a better deck selection than Blue White Control for that event for sure.
Now let's we'll get into the gameplay that we had for that, but let's talk about the next day.
The next morning. So we show up to the event hall and it is packed. This place looks as full as you expect the venues are going to look when we get back from COVID, man. I mean, it is
No. Actually, the first day wasn't bad. It was the second day because the first day was Friday. So we didn't have the main event crowd yet.
Oh, you're right.
Yep.
You're right.
So
okay.
we get to the venue. Me and James, we pre-registered for the PTQ triple play.
Yep.
Steven, for those that don't know,
I was lazy. I did
He's-
not pre-register for the triple
so
play. Like a
he gets
fool.
up there, and were they sold out? Stopped doing registration. One of the two, I guess.
Well, yeah. So I know I didn't play on Saturday. I think I did play.
No. So Friday you got to play, but you couldn't do the triple play.
Right, I couldn't do the triple play.
But-
Okay.
So he's sitting there.
So I spend more money or
Yep.
whatever.
So he sat there. He registered.
Oh, this
So
is
the
awesome.
tournament
Yeah.
comes up. We're sitting there. Steven's like, my name's not on there.
Yep.
And he's sitting there like, why ain't my name on this sheet?
Yeah, I'm getting
He has to
annoyed.
go to the judge.
I
He's
go
like,
over to
yo,
the
I
judges.
registered.
And I did. I
Yeah.
did register.
Registered. Go ahead. Is this your story?
Yeah, for sure. So, the person's understanding over at the help desk, and they get me fixed up or whatever, and I come back, and I'm sitting with my opponent, we're talking, and I don't remember how exactly it came up, but I was like, yeah, dude, I can't believe these events are $60. And he's like, this event was not $60. I'm like, huh? What do you mean? He's like, dude, this event was only like $45, $50, whatever the actual price was. And I go, oh, I didn't sign up for the right event. I signed up for the limited one.
Not only
Yeah.
did he forget to pay for the triple play,
Yeah.
but he paid for extra for his event. And that's usually where it would end, because Steven's a very lucky person. When it comes to these things, he might get tased a little bit, but it's all fine and dandy. However, it gets a little bit more interesting throughout the weekend.
Yeah.
But
Let's not forget to mention, though, that on Friday, James has a winning in for top 8 with this mono black vampires deck,
Yes.
which is sweet. James,
Yeah.
tell us about that.
yeah,
Yeah, that Mono Black Vampires was really sweet. That was a good deck. I really like that deck a lot. I thought, especially meta dependent, it was better than the regular stock Mono Black aggro, which we've seen a lot of play at the time,
Mhm.
especially depending on matchups, stuff like that. But yeah, I ended up losing a tough winning in. That was really, really, that hurt. Again, going back to the close
To mono red.
Yeah, close misses. Yeah, let's see. Oh yeah, I'm looking at the report for that right now. Actually.
oh, he's got to go back to.
Yeah.
For those that don't know,
Yeah.
James has a horrible memory. He used to be an addict.
So, for those who seriously don't know, James does a tournament report after all of his tournaments. So he's going
Yep.
back and looking at the report he wrote up. And James, why don't you read an excerpt from that?
Yeah,
for
just
us?
read it verbatim.
So-
No, not the whole thing. We
So,
don't have
yeah,
we don't
right.
have 2 days for this podcast, but
wow.
I was talking about for that match.
Yeah. So
I don't even know if we have that much time.
no,
but
it was short
give us
because
some details because it
yeah.
was a
I was
painful loss.
I was
for
X1, couldn't draw in the top 8. I get paired against Big Red.
Yep.
And I maneuvered with an unlosable board state. I'm playing Vampires for the first time ever. And I have 2 creatures. He has an empty board, no hand, and I draw 4 lands in a row to die after he rips Double Glory Bringer off the top. And that's how I missed my winning for top 8. Yeah.
Rough.
And those that don't know, it brought a lot of happiness to me that day.
Yeah, Larry was really pleased.
I got bodied in that tournament because I was playing elves.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, that deck was not good.
Yeah.
Um,
Hey, I didn't do good enough. That's all I remember. I think I.
didn't you X1 and not make it?
I.
Yeah, you did because you were so angry that day.
Oh,
You were
yeah.
so angry because you were like, X1 didn't make it, and you were so angry.
I was really ticked off. Yeah. Another reason why I love these online events so much,
Yeah.
dude. Like, so much more reasonable to get in with
Okay.
these records and not, the PTQ system at the GPs is just so brutal, man. Like,
They
one
are.
loss can just totally derail the whole
just so
tournament.
you
It's
know,
so dumb.
Yeah.
I was X1 when I won my PTQ.
I know. No, you told me that.
I just wanted to like rub it into
yeah,
you.
no, that's cool. I mean,
No,
Yeah,
it all depends. There's so many scenarios involved in it. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Because it was funny because the next day I actually X1 the PTQ and didn't make it, but we'll
Yeah.
get more.
Yeah.
That was the day my buddy came up on my Matthew Hoff and out of New York. He was like, hey, because he was doing the main event or whatever. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, you want to borrow my mono black aggro deck? So I borrowed his mono black because Steven was very high on it. I was like, okay, I'll play this deck. So that's the first time, like I said, me and Steven, first tournament we've ever been on together. We're all going to go to Red Robin afterwards. We're like sitting there. So we get the Red Robin.
Oh,
Worst service ever. But I've never, like I said, never been to a place with like that with Steven because he didn't really order much the night before, which it wasn't odd to me at the time. Now I'm thinking he was sick. We get the Red Robin. We sit there. We order some drinks or whatever, just chilling with each other. Or was that the night that we went down to New York?
so Friday or Thursday night we had the Burgers in Paradise.
Friday night was Red Robin, because Saturday night was when we went to the bar place.
Okay, yep,
in
you're
New
right.
York, I believe.
Okay, just want to make sure. Yep, that's right. Yeah, so that Friday, we go to Red Robin.
Yep.
We're sitting there. Me and James order our food. We're pretty simple. Dykman, on the other hand,
Oh, yeah.
he gonna go here. He is like, I will take this burger twice.
Yeah, I'd like this.
He's like,
this
I want two of the
burger that
burgers.
is a meal. I would like 2 of them.
Yeah,
please.
not only the fact that he didn't do it, but he specifically got 2 meals so he could have 2 sets of bottomless fries.
Yep.
I had no idea what sense that made. He was like, no,
I
I
was in
need
it for the
bottom.
burger, dude.
Yeah.
I was in it for the
He
burger.
was in it for the burger. We never got refills on our drinks. We probably had the worst Red
Maybe
Robin
I'll
service.
refill on one of our
Like-
fries. Like, yeah, it was rough, dude. I don't know what was going on that weekend, but they were not good at all.
It was so bad. We went to B-Dubs
For dessert.
Buffalo Wild Wings for those that
Yeah,
don't know
we-
the abbreviation.
Yeah, we said forget this. We're going somewhere else for dessert, which is unfortunate because I love Red Robin's dessert, but it wasn't worth waiting at all any longer than we already had. I think it had already been like an hour and a half, 2 hours,
Yeah.
just some ridiculous amount of time. Yeah, it was rough for sure.
Yeah. Oh, we went the right round because we knew we had to be back up in the morning. So we were like,
Yeah.
hey. And then the Saturday showed up.
Oh,
Well, hold on. We're missing a key component of the B-Dubs story as
Oh,
well.
you ain't wrong.
Yeah. No, there's
you're
another.
right.
There's
That's
another
why
part
we
to
have
the
3
story.
of us here.
Yeah, no, this
So-
is a good. We gotta mention this.
So we went to B-Dubs to order some cheesecake bites.
Yep.
I'm drinking. I think we got this very fruity drink up there. Because remember, this is like one of the only weekends I was drinking.
Yeah.
I drank a lot that weekend, and I don't ever drink.
Yeah, and for those who don't know me as a person, I'm kind of a goofy guy. I lose stuff a lot. I leave things behind a lot. And James is very used to this by now. And so we decide to mess with James, Larry and I do, when the bill...
Silent.
Yeah, silently. We just kind of
We
look
didn't-
at each other
we
and
didn't
go,
even-
all right, it's time to mess with James. So, I go ahead, Larry. You
All
can
right.
finish this one for us.
So we go. Dykman is getting, because we get our bills, Dykman gets us and puts his card on the table. Whatever. I put my hand over on top of his card. I slip and put it in my pocket. I obviously knew because he looked over at me that I took his card.
Mm-hmm.
So he instantly starts going with it. I start going. We go. And James we start just pretending to look for his card. Like we can't find his card. He's like, did you drop it? All this kind of stuff. I'm
And
like,
James is used to this
Yeah.
because I have left my card at restaurants probably 3 to 4 times this past year alone.
yep.
So,
So we're sitting there, we're looking. I was like, I bet that right around. Do you want to run and go grab it? He's like, no, I don't really want to run over there right now and then come back. And then James eventually he's like, picks up the tab and puts it on Steven's tab
Yeah.
and stuff. So we're walking. As we're walking out of the door of B-Dubs, I go, Steven, here's your card, by the way. James just looks at it, shaking his head, trying to figure out why he decided to go on a trip with both of us.
You want to elaborate
Yeah.
on that for us, James?
yeah. Well, Larry got me in a sense, but like the first thing I said, even right then, I was like, why wouldn't I believe you? This is the 4th time this has happened.
Yeah, exactly. Where's verbatim?
Oh, man. So anyway, next day, Saturday morning.
The GP of hell. That's
Yeah,
what we're called.
we get to the GP, and this place, man, is so jam-packed. It is out of control.
People are sitting crisscross applesauce in the hallway
Yeah,
playing Magic.
Yeah, we knew something was
We
wrong.
were
when
looking-
we got in there and saw that. I was like,
Because I walked in and people were playing EDH and Pods of 4 on the ground. I'm looking
Yeah.
around like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Is it cooler out here? And keep in mind, we get in there and you can feel this thickness of heat
Yeah.
from everybody's, like, the temperatures off their bodies.
Yeah.
Like, it's so wild. There's lines galore. We waited in lines because, keep in mind, Steven hasn't registered yet.
Yeah.
'Cause
you
again-
would think that after not doing the triple play and having the slight issues on Friday, that I would have had the insight to pre-reg for the next two. I didn't. And we get in there, and they say that they are at capacity and no one else can sign up for any events.
The only ones that were allowed to were those with the triple play.
And as we've already been through, that was not something I chose to purchase.
Right. And keep in mind, this tournament was supposed to start, wasn't it supposed to start at like 9, 10 o'clock?
Yeah, it was like a 10 or 11 a.m. start, and
Yep.
they pushed it back to 2 p.m.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they came around, they're like, for your troubles, I know we had to push it back, we appreciate everything, but we are going to give y'all an extra historic playmat and non-foil lightning bolt for your troubles. And we're all like, yeah, another playmat that we can't do absolutely anything
that I have to
with.
carry around.
Oh, I
Dang
can't
it.
wait to have this.
Curses.
Yeah.
Like,
You can definitely tell that GP jersey this year in January was a complete mess because it's the only time I think I've ever seen Dykman being tased for not registering early.
Mhm.
We even joked about this in one of the other carpool rides we did last year,
Yeah.
where somebody else was in the car and we were doing our usual, which is where I remind Dykman like 4 times to register for the event. And then on the trip down to that event, he has to borrow somebody else's phone that still has data to register on their phone for the event.
And the really stupid thing about all this is Memorial Day weekend, probably about 2 or 3 years ago at this point, I wasn't going to go to a Magic tournament at all. It was when I was doing my teacher assisting. I thought I had work on Monday, and I forgot that teachers have Memorial Day off, so I didn't have anything. I was still in college at this point. So I'm like, oh, crap, I can still go to this tournament. And I quick message Brian Carey, and I'm like, dude, have you guys left yet? Are you still going? And he lives like an hour and a half away or whatever. It's like 9 a.m. on Friday. He's like, no, we're leaving at like 11:30. And I'm like, okay, dude, I'm going to come with you if that's cool. Because we had talked about it before, and I said I couldn't go. But then I'm like, I don't have to work Monday, dude. I can go. And he's like, sweet. So I quick decide on a dime that I'm going to go to this GP over the weekend in D.C. I drive there. We meet up. We go to the tournament. And at about probably 10 or 11 p.m. that night, I realize I still haven't registered for the tournament. Well, online registration for those closes at like 9 or 10, or at least for that one it did. So this was not the first time I did not play an event that I initially wanted to play when going to a GP. You'd have thought I learned the first time, but clearly it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
but yeah,
Needless to say, for the Sunday one, I did pre-reg for the PTQ.
that was how he got tased. Now, and then you sat there and was like, well, I'm just going to go back and play Moto on with some friends on Discord.
That's another funny story. I played against Inverter for the first time that weekend, and I thought I was getting memed. I thought the deck was nonsense and total trash.
Yeah.
I'm playing this really ridiculous, like, green-white enchantment nonsense that me and my buddy Michael Worth were playing. And we went like 3-2 in the league. The deck was cool, but yeah, we play against this Inverter deck, and we're both like, oh, that deck's so stupid. That deck's nonsense. There's no way that deck's good. Turns out it's one of the best decks in the format, and it's what I
Wins
top
the
eight
PT.
in the
Wins
Lotus.
the PT.
Yeah, wins the PT, is the deck that I end up playing in the Lotus Box 1K a few months later. It ends up being the best deck by a large margin for quite a while.
Yeah. It's so crazy
Funny
how things
story.
change. But yeah, we go there. We ended up getting done, and Steven's still here at the hotel just playing. Keep in mind, we're like 8 minutes away from New York City.
Yep.
And he sits at the hotel room because his exact words is, I'll probably get lost.
Yep, those were.
He's a grown-ass man, right?
Yeah, well, I think, we already, I think, mentioned once that I'm 25 on this podcast.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I don't think people are going to catch that.
Physically, yeah, no. Mentally, I'm about 12.
So,
but physically, definitely, 25.
Well, you couldn't even navigate, though, because your phone was dead.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't have known.
So,
I wouldn't. I would have known I was in New York.
And that was the thing.
And that's about it.
As hilarious as it was, I didn't even blame you. I was like, actually,
I would have gotten lost.
Yeah, that's probably
I'm
safe
not
for you.
lying. I would have gotten
Otherwise-
lost. It would have been a bad time.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known where to charge my phone. I don't even think I brought a charger on that trip, unless it was the one that was in your car, but that one's broken half the time.
No, that's true. So me and James, because this part's very important for Sunday. James gets done with, man. I don't know how he didn't do like super hot in the second tournament, but that's how tournaments go. I was X1 playing my last round. I knew there was like a small window, hope. So I was up against what's that? Insult Artifact, the blue-red one.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm playing mono black, and I win a very close game, very stressful game.
Yeah.
It could have went either way. We go. I sign a match slip. I'm just like, I didn't have to like take the match slip up. I did have to take the match slip up because I had to get my prizes. Because it was the last round. That's how PTQs are.
Yep.
Little did I know, well, not the little I know, I don't really need that. So we just go up. I'm stressed out. I ended up not getting the top 8. I got like just outside. I think I got 12th, 11th or 12th. After that, we just immediately leave. We don't go back to where we were sitting. We just leave. We go back to the hotel room. We meet up with Steven. We're like, hey, we're ready to go to New York now. We're going to go into the city and go grab dinner. Steven's like, all right, let me finish my game on Moto. Me and James is looking like
I was playing mono white, man. I had to finish.
And that's not even the best part. He finishes the game of Moto. We're like, are you ready? He's like, all right, I need to use the restroom.
Yep.
And we're just
you
like,
can't use the restroom when you're playing Moto.
It's on your phone.
And I wasn't even manning the controls is the next best
Yeah,
part.
I know.
Wolf was manning the controls. But
Literally, he could did everything also to be multitask, but he failed to do so.
Yeah, no, I'm playing Magic. There's not much else happening usually. So
yeah, we go to New York. That was great. So we go. I don't know if people been to New York. There's like a little ATM looking machine that you pay through that, and they print you out a ticket.
Oh yeah,
that you use to get.
Bus ticket to go from Jersey to New York. Yeah,
we go. I have nothing but cash on me, so the thing was accepting. So Steven had to buy my ticket off there just so I could get onto the damn bus.
Yep.
So we go. James was a hater, and all he did was flip me off when it wasn't working. But it was fair because I would.
Most of you can probably imagine why after listening to any of this at all. But
we get on the bus, and that's just the coolest thing. We get on the bus, and there's these like 56-year-old people on the bus talking about Magic the Gathering, trading like Black Lotuses and stuff like this. Yeah. It was the coolest thing ever. Like they had to be like they look like my grandparents. Like, and it was so cool to see. I've never actually seen that. Like it just out in public. I feel like they're kept in zoos or something. I don't know. It's like foreign animals, you know. Senior citizen Magic traders. It was awesome.
Then we went to Dallas Barbecue. That place was really good.
Yep.
And also, similar to Red Robin, I ended up paying because when they brought us the bill afterwards, they said, "Oh, we don't split up tabs."
Oh, yeah.
So we said, "Here you go, James."
Yeah, and so I just had to pay for all 3 meals at the time.
Mention that. So James usually covers the tabs throughout the weekend, and we pay him after we're done. So James, how long did it take for Steven to clear his tab for me from New York and all those events?
About last week.
How long did it take me to clear my tab from you?
Well, the government is screwing up your payments on the unemployment, so I'm waiting on the government to pay him.
Yeah, and I told him it's no rush.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then
for his nice 6-week vacation, which I did not get to stop my job for 6 weeks.
Yep. It's not really vacation because we've been grinding Magic.
Yeah.
You get the luxury of going into the war zone.
Yep.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, James is a veterinarian.
I work in the hospital. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Cool.
Yeah, I think he's similar to what Ray does. Where they're both in the war zone. It's funny that we have like war zone participants on our cast
2 weeks in a row. Yeah, it's pretty nice.
That's awesome.
Again, I'm not mad at all at the dichotomy. You're getting paid to play video games, and I'm going in. I actually had to take a pay cut because of loss of revenue.
Oh, you're working in the most deadly part?
Yeah.
We're going to have to cut that
fuck
pay.
it.
Yeah, they said, sorry, we're not giving you hazard pay.
Yeah,
We actually lost revenue, so you're taking a pay cut. But no, that's
Probably wouldn't help me out, though.
I'm not. It's not your fault. I'm not. I'm jealous of anything. But it's just
No, that was for sure.
Perfect situation that it's costing me money and that you can't pay me back on tab because the government's screwing up.
Yeah, it's just funny. The whole purpose is like, James paid for our dinner, and that place was quite expensive because we got these fruity alcoholic drinks, which for anybody that goes to New York, go to Dallas Barbecue. It is worth it. Like,
really
if we
good.
go back,
That place
like,
was
that
awesome.
comes back,
I'd go again for
I'd
sure.
go back to that place. I might go the first
Those
time we're
drinks
there.
were
Like,
awesome.
the
The drinks were particularly because you're not going to get that everywhere.
So when I got my drink, so they're these like frozen style drinks. They're kind of like how you would buy like a Slurpee or something, but they're alcoholic.
Yep.
But they have these things where you can get like
Shots.
little mini drinks and shots put in them. Well, the waitress, super busy place, keep in mind. So I'm not discrediting her for anything. She forgets mine at first, and I'm not thinking of it because I really don't know what I'm ordering or anything. I just like, let me get free, and she was like, all right, do you want it with the like Supreme version? I was like, sure, why not? I'm like, screw it. And I was like, worst case scenario, like I sell a kidney or something to cover this. So she goes and she's like, I'll bring the shot, your extra Supreme stuff afterwards. I was like, okay. So I just start drinking it, and I drink like half of it or something because I let them try some of it as well. And then she comes over and was like, oh, here you go, and puts these shots in the drink. Yeah. And I'm looking, I'm like, and remember, I've already drank half of it. So I'm like, all right, well, let's just go ahead and put it in here. So we just fill it up, and it raises it back up. That tastes like pure alcohol. Yeah. No longer fruity.
Yeah, I almost never drink alcoholic beverages, but those looked so sweet. I just had to try them, and they were awesome.
They were.
Man.
Next time, good. I would get at least 2. But the crazy part, so I drink half of that. The half that was all pure alcohol.
Yep.
And remember, I was like, I gotta go use the restroom.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not thinking nothing, and I don't drink much anymore. So I'm a lighter weight than I used to be back in the day when I was drinking Everclear nonstop.
Yeah.
For those that don't know Everclear, it's a very smooth drink. Everybody should try it. 21 shots for your 21st birthday. Go ahead, kiddos. But I get up, and then I started to feel it. It was all in my head. I was like, oh God. And I was like, I'll just need to get to the bathroom. I'll be fine. I go to the waiter. I was like, hey, where's the restroom? All the way down the stairs to the left. And these stairs were those one stairs that circles around.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm looking at them stairs. So I get to the stairs. It takes me forever to get down them stairs. Because, one, they had to fix their building because they wouldn't stop moving.
Oh.
I hate the stairs. Like, building structures these days are just not what they used to be.
That's funny.
So they kept moving. They kept shifting. I eventually get down the stairs, use the restroom, come back up. And I'm sitting there like, wow, that's when the bill came. And they're like, oh, they can't split the bill. And then James was like, well, instead of just having to split, y'all give me cash, I'll just add it to your tabs. And me and Steven never argued.
Yep. It was a nice deal.
So we get done there, and we're like, James is very high on getting gelato. Take over this part, James.
Yeah, so what was the name of that gelato place? It was amazing though. And
yeah, I don't know the name of it, but it's a great gelato place that's right by Times Square.
Probably the best gelato I've ever had. It's amazing. It's like a quarter mile down from where you get off the terminal.
Yep.
And so we get there, and there's like 5 sizes of them. And we already had this chicken and waffles, the barbecue place, and drinks and meals.
Yeah. Before you go on, for the viewers and the listeners that don't know, what is gelato exactly?
It's basically like ice cream, but like really extra creamy, really sweet.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. They had a ton of different flavors. But the problem is that they had like 5 sizes of cups, and each cup was like only a little bit bigger than the next one, except for the biggest size. For some reason, it was like twice as big as the second biggest size. And so Dykman just orders the biggest size. And it was only a little bit more expensive than the second biggest size. So I was like, well, okay, whatever, I'll do it too. And they handed it to us.
Well, I came in there, I was like, yeah. I'll take the medium.
Yeah, and then we realized, like, whoa, This is way bigger than all the other sizes. I don't know why.
Okay, for those that don't know, so if you go to Cold Stone and they got the Love It, and then the biggest one's like Gotta Have It.
Yeah, Gotta Have It. I think
This was like twice Gotta Have It.
Yeah, it was huge.
This thing was like a
So
family-sized bucket.
Dude, I almost never don't finish things when I'm eating, and I did not finish that.
Didn't you get the cookie too?
Yeah, you have the cookie over
the little the macaroon.
Yeah.
I got the macaroon, ate like half of the macaroon, and ate maybe half of the gelato, and it was like, I can't do this anymore.
I'm sitting there with
so
my medium,
full,
like I made the
dude.
best decision. And don't get me wrong, that place was so good.
Oh yeah,
The caramel gelato, because I'm a big caramel, whatever you want to call it, fan.
Yeah, it was excellent.
Yeah. Top notch. And that place was just great. We ended up getting back. It was, Times Square's busier than hell, like, as normal. We get back, it's kind of late, so we're like, all right, let's go to bed. So we crash out.
Yep.
Fast forward to the morning. So we grab, no, I didn't grab breakfast. So I get up in the morning, and I'm just going to go through because I think I need to give Steven a card back or something.
Yep.
I go into my bag. The deck is gone. Keep in mind, I borrowed this deck from my buddy.
Oh yeah.
I'm looking around the room. I'm looking in the drawers. I look under the bed. The mono black aggro deck is gone. And I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, and I thought back. So backtrack. Like I said, I played a very stressful match against that Inso Artifact deck, and we just left to go take the tickets, and I must have left the deck on the table. I just book it to the convention center. So we're probably a few blocks away, probably like a good 7 minute walk. It takes me like 90 seconds, I swear, to get there because I booked it. Like I was doing light jog. I'm a big guy, I ain't running. Like I smoke cigarettes at that time. Keep in mind, I was doing light jog while I was smoking because I had to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Got up them stairs because there's a lot of stairs. Felt like I saw the light. Don't smoke a cigarette running upstairs. Don't do it, kids. Well, don't smoke at all, but... Yeah. So we get in there. I'm huffing, puffing. I'm out of breath at this point. I'm getting past like the prize wall tickets. I just stop and I'm like, just trying to catch my breath. So we go. I walk into the convention center. I go up to the Lost and Found. I'm like, hey. I was like, I lost my deck here yesterday, and I got the PTQ. I'm a little frantic right now. I need to see if my deck was turned in. They're like, you lost a Magic deck? I'm like, yeah. So they go. They grab 3 deck boxes. They come over to me. Which one is it? And I sat there and I looked at them and was like, what? They're like, which one of these are only 3 we have back here. Which one is it? I look, and one of the 3 was mine, so I grab mine and I'm walking away. I'm like, and I look back out and look for it. I'm like, I could have just came up and said any deck was mine.
Yeah.
I was like, can I look inside them, please? Like, what kind of protocol is that?
Yeah, that's rough for sure.
But my heart sunk because, keep in mind, the deck wasn't mine. If it was mine, I wouldn't have felt too bad. I'd be like, oh, it's whatever.
Yeah, you lose money, but not the respect.
I'll just play elves or something, whatever.
Yeah.
But no, the fact that this wasn't my deck, I was frantic. Thankfully, I had it. I went X2 in that tournament later in the day or so, and I probably didn't play the best because my mind was still a little jolty,
out,
but still, it was still a decent finish. That was the day like we all played that one. You didn't do exceptionally well.
No, I lost Spirits twice, and one of my losses.
That matchup's tough for Mono Black though.
Yeah, it's especially tough if you don't win the die roll, and it's also tough if I didn't have a 1-drop, which happened. Seemed like every time I just didn't have the Gutter Bones on one or the Dreadmore, whatever my 1-drop of choice was for the weekend. But like the ideal curve in that matchup was win die roll, go 2-1, 2-1, 2-1, and just kill them with 3 2-1s.
So people have a fresh idea when this was. This is actually the day that Kobe died.
Yep.
We found out in the middle of the tournament. Now Kobe, one of the best basketball players. For those that admire him and were sad over the thing. It's unfortunate what happened. This ain't no disrespect to Kobe, but I just had a loss. My opponent sat down, and I didn't know what was really going on. So I thought it was all a big old hoax.
Yeah, we thought it was a joke.
Yeah, I thought it was a hoax because many hoax happen. My opponent sits down. He's all distraught. He's like, I apologize. I was just rude to my last round opponent. I don't want to be rude to you. He's like, but a guy that I've been admiring my whole life just passed away. I was like, I'm sorry to hear that. He was like, yeah, he was one of the greatest, if not the greatest basketball player of all time. I was like, who is it? He's like, Kobe Bryant. I was like, from the Lakers? Because I didn't know. And yeah, he's like, yeah, we just lost the greatest. I was like, well, I'm a Celtics fan. And that's all I said. Because I literally thought it was a hoax. And he was so angry at me. Because I'm still in the mindset. Because there's so many hoaxes now with celebrities dying.
Yeah.
I don't believe them.
Yeah.
And oh man, he was livid at me.
Yeah, you're not the best with being compassionate, I suppose. So.
He was so angry. And then the best part, I 2-0'd him. It was my tactic all along to get him so angry at me that he'll misplay.
I'm sure.
No, I really thought it was a hoax, and it was just unfortunate.
Yeah.
And then, was there anything else at the convention center? I
don't think so. Not particularly.
In general, like it was a rough GP. The way it was almost like a pastime GP.
Yeah.
Especially Saturday. That was insane.
It was.
Another good lesson about that weekend is I did really well Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I think I went like 500 those days. They weren't good.
And that's competitive magic. Like when we're talking about competitive magic, that's gonna happen. You're not if you think you're gonna have positive results every single time you play, you need to stop. Game. You need to find a different game. This is a game that has variance involved.
Yeah, you're not gonna hit your third land drop on turn 3 every game you ever play.
Exactly. Look at this for example. BBD's on the MPL, one of the top MPL players. He's a consistently good player, right?
Yeah.
At the PT I was at in Phoenix, I sat next to him in the Grand Prix on day 2.
Yep.
We both did day 2 the PT.
Yep.
And we both were in the Grand Prix near each other.
Yep.
That's a sign. Even the best players in the world.
Yeah, something that made me feel a lot better when I 04'd my second PT. When I was 03, I was sitting next to John Finkel, and I was like, okay, well, this is a really, really crappy situation, but this is one of the best ever sitting right next to me in the 03 bracket right now. So, this really sucks. I worked really hard to get back. And that was one of the really frustrating things too, is I prepped pretty hard for the second PT because when I was 18 or 19, I queued and it was block constructed and I didn't have a huge player group or anything yet. So I ended up having to get my own deck and all this. I ended up playing mono black aggro and block constructed and it was not good. I think my only win in constructed was against Brad Nelson, ironically enough. And I'm pretty sure after I beat him, he never lost again in the tournament and top 16'd it or whatever. And, I went 3-5 in that one. But, prepping for the second one, I wanted to do better than the first one. I just got completely steamrolled and it was really frustrating. But I remember that was, something that made me feel at least a little bit better is, look, even one of the best of all time came here and I'm sure he practiced at least a little bit and was trying to do better than 03, but he was sitting there at 03. So
yeah, no, that's the thing. And then the best part about that, go ahead, James.
Well, it was it's kind of off on a tangent from road stories and stuff like that, but it does come back to me. That Sunday PTQ is also unrelated again, but this is another good point that we should throw out there anyway. Is there was one of the matches that day where I ended up going to time. It was a really, really grindy match. Deck.
I remember that.
This guy was playing some blue-white tempo-based deck.
I remember that match.
It was super annoying.
I wish I knew that guy's name because I played against him a few times on the SCG circuit. I played against him at one of the invitationals. I remember he was playing this Abzan Siege Rhino deck in Modern at the time. It was a Lingering Souls Siege Rhino deck. But yeah, I know that player. He's quite good.
Yeah, he was good. The match was a little tense. It was really tough back and forth for 3 games. There was times it got a little bit chippy because again, he was on the clock, and with his deck, he had to keep an eye on the clock because it took forever.
Yeah.
And it ended up getting to a point where I started to fall behind in game 3, and we hit time, and I stopped him from killing me. I had a removal spell, and so it gets one of those situations where the judge sits down, he puts the slip down. And it's the end of game 3 of turns. One player's clearly ahead, and he says, please fill out the match slip. And everybody's going to get in those situations occasionally. People have their opinions about whether or not you should ever scoop to somebody, under what circumstances, stuff like that. And in that case, the match was, it was tense, back and forth. We weren't rude to each other, but it wasn't the friendliest of matches. It was tense. I hated this deck. He was kind of on top of me the whole time trying to get me to play faster because his deck was so slow and he wanted to get the match in before time, even though it was, his deck was a slower deck. And despite all of that, I ended up conceding to the guy. Like, I wrote it down. I gave him the last game. And part of it is because I got the pair up. He was paired down. So that basically put me out top 8 for sure. That was that would have been my second loss. But the thing is, he got the pair down. He was still in contention for top 8. I wasn't going to be regardless because another tie would have knocked me out. And even though it wasn't the friendliest game, I do believe in respect for the game and the sport of it and the competition. And in those situations, if you're down in game 3, there's a clear winner on board. I've been on the other side too, and I think of that. And where I've, been knocked out of top 8 contention by somebody that was in. I played a decent speed that match, but Dykman also, we've experienced this where you play a hard match, it's a long grindy match. The other person isn't playing super fast, and they don't concede to you after turn 5 when clearly the game is lost for them. And that's so crushing and so unsporting.
Yeah, it's that is one thing about online Magic that that's one thing about paper Magic that I do not miss at all is those moments where you get a draw,
unintentional draws.
Yeah. I think I've only clocked so far during COVID on Arena twice.
One of them was shocked, James.
One of them was a few days ago with blue-white control, and another one was in one of the Lotus Box events. But I was playing like a Luris Rakdos mirror, and game 2 was wild. I looked massively dead for 7 or 8 turns. I thought I was going to lose the game for sure, but I kept playing because I thought at the time that a loss there was going to eliminate me from top 8 contention, so I was going to fight for it. And I ended up, ripping 2 perfect cards at the very end of the game to steal the game. I claimed a Croxa and then killed a blocker, and he had a non-land in hand, so he took 9 and died exactly. And I was cat ovening him for a while. And then, game 3 was quite close, but I couldn't quite get there in time, largely due to the cat oven interaction on Arena being kind of tough, especially when you're not using a mouse. But yeah, that's one thing about online Magic that's really nice is you don't have to worry about that draw stuff. You're either going to clock, and you did take too long. If you clocked, that's your fault 100%, and you know that. Or if your opponent loses the clock, it was their fault they lost. There's no question about who was playing too quick, who wasn't playing too quick. Whoever lost the clock clearly was the one playing a little too slow. So,
but the really great part of that and the justice behind it is, I respected the game, the fact that I was eventually going to lose that game. It was very high probability I was going to. He was still in top 8 contention. I conceded. I wrote it down 2-1 for him. I signed the slip. And then afterwards, obviously he thanked me. He said sorry for being a little bit, curt during the game because he was worried about the clock. But then after that tournament, so this was a couple hours later because I was round 4 out of 6 or something like that. And then I went up to the prize table, and he walks up to me and says, "Hey, I really appreciate what you did earlier, and sorry for being rude here." And he handed me some prize tickets and said, "I just appreciate what you did and being a good sport. Here's part of the prize to make up for the fact that, you conceded that instead of being in that draw." And, I think that's really good. That's, sportsmanship for the game and respect.
And there's nothing illegal about that because
it's
it would have been illegal.
I didn't look at the slip and then say, "Oh, give me tickets."
No, that would be a problem.
Yeah,
but that
for the other game in the competitive grinding, you're not allowed to ask for anything, but somebody can give you something as long as you don't ask for it.
Yeah, and and I know, and so that was a nice gesture and respectful, and I've done the same thing. I think at one point somebody I was X1, and due to break, because I had to play the last round against somebody that I got paired down against in the same situation, like a PBTQ or something, and the guy scooped me in and said, "Okay," and we didn't discuss it before.
I'm gonna real quick.
He just said he was gonna
keep telling the story. I'm gonna try figuring out who this was because I'm almost certain he's top 8 at an invitational, and
he's top 8 in an open or something. He
top 8 in Envy. The same one where he played me with the Siege Rhino mid-range deck. I'm almost certain he top 8'd. And it might have been the one where Koval won with the mono white deck, but I'm
terrible
gonna look
names.
that up real quick.
We talked afterwards. He was a good guy. He was a good player, but it's good. we didn't discuss it beforehand. Or in that PBTQ, when it was turned around and I was in that position, I didn't discuss with the guy beforehand. He just said, "Hey, are you in top 8 contention?" I said, "Yeah," and so he scooped me in because he wasn't. And we didn't discuss anything. There was no collusion. But then the first thing I did is I handed the slip up to the judge. The guy starts walking to his car, and I immediately follow out to his car like, "Hey, man, thanks, I appreciate that." And I gave him some of my prize. It wasn't collusion, but it was appreciation and respect for the game.
Right, no, for sure. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I've never had two situations where I've given prizes or anything for people scooping. I've actually haven't had people scoop to me much, but I've scooped a lot of people into the top 8. I don't have no regrets on it. Like, if I'm dead and you still have a chance, why am I gonna knock you out? Like,
the way I like to think about it is, if you're going to do it for someone else, hopefully, in the future,
you'll get good magic karma.
Yeah.
Right. And we're not, obviously it doesn't have to happen every time. Like, if it's truly like game 3 and like nobody's ahead on board, like a draw is fine. But in those situations where clearly one person is about to win, or like they have lethal on board and it's turn 5, like they should probably get the match win in most situations.
Yeah, I have had situations where we go to time and I go to my opponent before we start turn and be like, "Hey, at the end of these turns, if there's somebody clearly ahead that's going to win, like clearly they're going to win, do you just want to say that, like, as long as we come to a conclusion on it?" And we've done situations like that. And it has to be clear, like, undeniable, like, situation. It can't be like, "Oh, well, if I draw this to go with this," like, no, we can't do that. That's not how that works, but.
Right.
And obviously you can't do, like, let's flip the top card to see who has the higher mana cost to win. Can't do any of that stuff. But what you did is fine. Yep. Nothing illegal about that for sure. But no, New York was a fun trip, though. I would definitely go back. The conventions are just tiny because they have to hold it in the Meadowlands, obviously. Because New York would be so pricey to do an event. It'd be insane. Was there any stories from additional events? We won't tell like full stories from additional events to say.
Oh yeah, that would take way too long.
To respect everybody else's time.
Yeah.
But James, you're saying that you had a story from the Invitational. You talked like.
Yeah. So obviously, the last year and a half or so, I've been going to a lot of events with Dykman, and every single weekend is full of little quote unquote Dykman moments.
Yep.
Which are hilarious, and that's part of what makes these weekends so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
And even being polar opposites, and occasionally those Dykman moments grading my sanity, they're still good stories and fun at the time. But for instance, at the Invitational last year, and this was my bad, I had Urza and I wanted to play Death Shadow because it was more fun. Or I thought at the time. Also, I hadn't played any Standard, so it was Pioneer. It was when Pioneer first came out and I didn't have time to test, so I was happy just to be Invitational, which I had it locked up my top 64 for the year. So I was like, okay, sure, Dykman didn't have a Pioneer deck. He was going to borrow one of mine. I said, sure, just borrow Urza. So
modern deck, but yeah.
Yeah. So Dykman borrows one of my decks and goes undefeated with it in the Invitational.
Yeah. I'm glad you're bringing this up.
Yep. He top 8s the Invitational.
Yep.
So the next day is going to be the top 8. We're in the hotel. This is a classic Dykman and my interaction. So we're about to leave the hotel room, and because I'm organized and it's one of my policies that I always do a room check before I leave. And so we're about to leave. I'm like, "Hey, Dykman, your toothbrush." And I go point to it on the bathroom counter. He goes, "Oh, yeah, okay." He goes over, brushes his teeth because he forgot to brush his teeth, puts the toothbrush right down back on the counter, goes to leave. Dykman, no, I meant like put the toothbrush in your bag and get in the car. Oh, okay. He gets the toothbrush, puts it in his bag, sets his other bag down, takes the toothbrush bag, leaving his other bag, goes to the car. Dykman, bring both of your bags.
Oh, yeah.
And then
this isn't even the one I thought you were going to tell. The best story from that is, I can't remember if it was day 1 or day 2, I sit down to play my match, and I open my bag, and there's no deck in my bag. And I go, "Oh, my goodness, where's the deck?" And I'm freaking out because it's James's deck. And at this point, I'm like 6-0 or whatever. And I frantically go to the front SCG booth, who usually has the decks that I leave laying around. And I go up there, and they're like, we don't have a deck. And I'm like, oh my goodness, where's the deck? I get back to the seat. I'm thinking, I'm like, oh, I opened the other pocket of my backpack. It was in the other pocket of my backpack the whole time. So causing a scene for no reason, I suppose. It's not the first time that's happened either. That's happened other times too. That's another thing I don't miss about Paper Magic, by the way. Just having to think about all these other things, like where's my deck and stuff like that.
Especially when I borrowed Legacy for Niagara Falls. It was like a hardtack the whole weekend because I have this super expensive $1,000 deck in my bag, and I'm like, oh, if I lose this, I'm out of rent.
By the way, I believe the player that you played against that we were mentioning, his name is James Woolmacher.
Yeah, that's him.
Yep. So, yeah, shout out to James Woolmacher. Hopefully I'm pronouncing his last name right. But, yeah, really cool dude. He got 5th place, top 8 at the SCG Invitational in 2017 with the Abzan deck that I was talking about. It didn't actually have Siege Rhino, but he had 3 main deck Bitter Blossoms, which I do remember that. It was a really cool deck. So, but anyway.
Yeah, I saw him a few weeks after that. Yep. After that PDQ, I said hi. Yeah, we're not intense match, especially. He was a cool guy to talk to.
Yep.
But no. So the bottom line of that story is basically, after that ordeal, just to get him out the door with all of his possessions, the first thing that popped in my head is, okay, this is the guy that's playing in the top 8 of the Invitational right now, and all of us aren't. So sit on that one, kids.
Yeah. With half a Pioneer deck, as Zach Allen liked to say, and Harlan Freer both said that about my my Pioneer deck. Funny thing, I was the only person in that top 8 playing a deck with no ban cards in it at the moment. So.
And extra icing on the cake, which is usually the case when Dykman's trolling my life incidentally, is I'd been grinding. I suffered through Hogak Summer to lock up my top 64 on the leaderboard to get a bye this whole year, which ended up not existing after the fact. But Dykman had to take a couple months off of Magic
because I was doing a long-term sub position at the school. I wasn't even going to play this Invitational, mind you. I didn't plan on going to this event.
I told him to go.
Yeah. Well, he told me to go. I wasn't going to go until some situations changed with that job, and I ended up not having to do that anymore. And literally, 2 weeks before the Invitational, I was like, oh, well, I guess, some upside to not doing this job anymore is I get to maybe go to this Invitational. So I tested for a few weeks, and I didn't test that Modern deck at all. Literally not a game. The first game I played with that deck was at the Invitational. It was the Lotus Box list, and it looked really good. And I was like, I guess I'll just play this. I had tested mostly on Pioneer because that's where I thought I was going to do the best.
And the flip-flop, of course.
Yeah. After all of that, the icing on the cake is after you've taken those months off, you top 8 in that Invitational in the fashion that you did.
Yep.
You finished exactly 1 spot higher than me on the damn leaderboard.
Yep. Sounds pretty wild.
Yeah,
that sounds about right.
That's my life in a nutshell.
Yeah, I've been really hot the last 4 or 5 months. I've been very fortunate, especially in.
And that's what it takes. So, like I said at the very beginning, getting hot, having your moments, and you just gotta know when you're on a hot streak, take advantage of it. Finding those little opportunities, and then
play events.
Yeah,
play
you're
events,
running hot,
or else you're not going to find your hot streaks.
Yeah. Once you see them, you just got to run with them.
Yeah, and I think that's. I don't know if it's mental. I don't know if it's I don't know what it is, but it seems to just kind of be a thing. Sometimes you just get on a streak and you're hot, and then sometimes you get on a streak and you're cold, and I don't even know if it necessarily has to do with mentality at all. I think it's just sometimes you're running better than others, and
like I said, there's
variance in the game, and it's just how it works. But
you just got to play events, and that's why we're gonna play these LCQs.
Yeah. So for the last section of the podcast tonight, I think we should all share what we're playing in the 4 a.m. event this morning. So Larry, what are you thinking you're gonna play in the 4 a.m. standard?
Right now,
LCQ this morning?
I think I'm leaning towards junk food, but I think I'm gonna play more Corvold's main board because I think Sacrifices a
really
top
good
deck,
right
and Corvold just good against that. It's decent against Reclamation. It's fine against the control decks, I suppose.
The only downside to Corvold that I've been thinking about is the main deck Aethergust that people are running right now. So we'll have to think about that with how many Citadels versus Corvolds we're playing. But Corvold's awesome, man. Like I
think it's worth it because Sacrifice is a higher number.
Well, it's also, dude, Corvold, like I was talking,
it's also good against red.
Like the worst case, like we were talking about earlier, I was telling you that like playing Bolas's Citadel on curve is very, very awkward because you hit your land drop to play it on curve. You play it, and if there's a land on top of your deck, you literally do nothing with it that turn. Corvold at least is going to draw you one card, but usually you have other stuff going on. If you have one cat and one oven, Corvold draws 4 automatically if you sequence it correctly.
Yep.
As long as you have a food, which you should have a food if you knew that you had Corvold in your hand. You should be managing it in such a way where you have oven, food, and cat. So what happens is you play the Corvold, and with the trigger on the stack, you then buy back the cat, which triggers the Corvold off the food to draw a card. Then you sack the cat to the Witch's Oven, drawing another card. Then you sack the food to get the cat back, getting another card, and then you sack the cat finally to the Corvold and draw 4 cards. So that's that's usually the minimum of what Corvold is doing with just one cat and one oven going on.
Yeah, it's just so
if
wild.
you have 2 ovens or more, it just gets totally out of control. It's 6 cards, 8 cards, like however many.
Yeah,
it's wild. The card is so good.
Corvold is just
completely refilling.
Just
your
a good
hand.
Magic card.
Card's awesome. Yeah.
That's what I'm leaning towards. What are you leaning towards, Steven?
I think I am also probably leaning towards that. I played it a few nights ago and went 0-3, and I know you played it a few nights ago and went 2-3, and we were both pretty ticked off. But ultimately, the deck's very good.
It's winning a lot of these LCQs.
Winning a lot of events. I think when I played it, I certainly got hit with some pretty rough variants. I mulled to 5 a lot. A lot of my hands were just not good at all, which sucked. I assume that probably happened to you a little bit towards the end of yours too.
Yeah,
and
we started out 2-0 and then went 0-3. It was very unfortunate.
I will say,
and not to cut you off, I really think I was boarding incorrectly in the mirror.
Yeah,
because I lost in the mirror twice, and I felt like my boarding.
And maybe
wasn't
to
correct.
test tonight, we should play some of the mirror.
And I agree.
But another deck I really enjoyed playing last night was this like black-white 8-rack style mid-rangey Yorion deck that got second in one of them. I played it. It felt pretty good. I got top 16, like we said before. I think I got quite unlucky in my top 16 match, unfortunately. My opponent had one unknown in game 1. It was Mystical Dispute to counter a card that very likely would have beaten them. Doom Foretold would have forced them to sack their wreck, and the rest of their hand wouldn't have done anything. And then they would have gotten 2-for-1 by the Doom Foretold again on the following turn. I also had a Treacherous Blessing in play that I wanted to sack to this Doom Foretold, so everything was perfect if resolved pretty much. But my opponent, the one of unknown was perfects, and then they were able to Expansion Explosion me for 4, and I was never able to come back from that. And then in game 2, I had pretty good position. I put them on the play. I was up a card. I bounced a Treacherous Blessing and played it, so I was up 6 cards from that. And I just flooded very badly and died, unfortunately. But I want to try some variations of that, maybe going to a 60-card version of it rather than 80, like I was talking to you earlier.
Yep.
So I'm going to try that a little bit, and it's possible I'll play that. But, yeah, I think Jun Food right now is just probably the deck to beat. So
I think so. Yeah. Now,
James.
What are you? For those that don't know, all 3 of us are going to be playing in the LCQ at 4 a.m. tonight.
James is just finding that out now.
Yeah,
James,
the reason we
had
him
bring his laptop this weekend, so he's stuck with us, and we're not letting him do anything else.
Yeah, we figured, me and Steven was talking, we're gonna force him to finally play some Magic.
Yeah, James hasn't played Magic for months for whatever reason, even though he's talking about wanting to go to the Pro Tour. So James, what do you have to say about all this?
Well, I knew you guys were going to try and ambush me on the podcast, for one. And for 2, I don't know. For me personally, there's certainly benefits. Obviously, it's a lot cheaper to play online. It's going to be more convenient, all those other things. You still get, you don't get cheated as much online. You can still, disconnect, which is super frustrating. It doesn't happen in paper. For a lot of reasons, online doesn't do it for me as much as playing paper Magic. I don't enjoy it as much. I played Arena basically to practice for paper events.
Mm-hmm.
Also, certain decks are for instance, playing Jun to Cat Oven in paper versus playing it online, completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Online is kind of a nightmare, and I really like. The deck took forever in paper, but
we've got a mouse for you, James. Yeah. You'll be fine.
Yeah, we got. The question isn't about if you're gonna play. We know you're playing. We've already come to terms. There was a reason we had you bring your computer. It's a matter of what you're going to play now. So, in hindsight, we have a couple options for you. You could do like a Rakdos sacrifice, which would actually be very much easier if you're not used to manning controls and stuff.
Yeah, and I've had pretty good success with the Rakdos.
There's multiples.
Loris
There's just like a higher, bigger like build with Mayhem Devil still.
Yep.
That's really good still.
Yep.
You can easily go that route.
Yep.
You can play Jund Food. I wouldn't play Team Erect honestly if you're not able to handle.
I don't
Jund
think
Food.
James would ever play Team Erect
That's,
anyway, to be honest.
Yeah,
but
it's not really my kind of deck.
No.
you play Blue White Control too, James. That's a deck right
Blue
now.
White
too.
Control is a deck right now.
Yeah.
Um.
So, anyway, everyone, James isn't totally sure what he's going to play yet. He doesn't know what the what the
Just
format
know,
is as much as he
of
probably
right now,
should. But
he's playing the 4 a.m. with us.
oh yeah, we're all staying up till like 10 a.m., 11 a.m. and we're
That is another silver lining. The fact that Wizards use us to basically beta test companions for them, since they can test their own freaking cards before they print them, and then the fact that you know how good it felt for me to not be playing Magic these last couple months, and then have all this Magic the companioning go down, and then companions get banned.
Let me ask you.
I've never had to play a single game
Let
with
me
companions.
ask you
If I could have gone, never having played a single game with Hogak, do you know how happy I'd be?
Let me ask you something though. What if that was the time where you would have queued for the PT?
It's an online PT. It's not even gonna be the same.
It's still a PT. Who cares?
They took away all the prize money. They took
They
away.
didn't take away.
No,
all
see,
the
I don't
prize money.
believe
That's
that
not
argument at all.
accurate.
People are complaining about the price, but you know how much time you're saving not spending on your expenses to get to these PTs?
Yeah, you're literally.
How much
making,
are plane tickets,
Yeah,
you know?
Sure.
So
Sure.
look at it like this. I queued for the PT at let's say this was like a PT queue. I queued at the last second. I didn't have time to buy a ticket in advance.
Yeah.
So your plane ticket's already going to be like $600 or more probably.
No,
But at least $400 bare minimum. So let's say the PT was in some ranky place like Reno, Nevada.
Yeah.
Let's just say it's some random
Sure.
place like that.
But, yeah, there's some benefits to.
But I'm just saying,
You
people are complaining about that prize money. That is like the dumbest argument. I'm like, you're getting to sit at
No,
home and do
right.
nothing.
You still make
it's one of
plenty of
several
money,
reasons.
and people are still going to know your
Yeah.
name if you win this PT. I
Exactly.
promise you.
It-
You
yeah,
better believe. And
Sure.
Red Bull will probably be giving you a little message like, hey, come to our... Because they do tournaments and stuff, too. Didn't
Yeah.
they do a tournament last year or whatever where, like,
I mean,
the top, like, whatever amount
Right.
of players went to it, and it was a really cool event and stuff?
I'll never have the social, media presence to ever get a special invite. But at the same time,
I mean, you might just because
But-
of doing well at a PT. But
it's nice, and yeah, it'd be cool. It's still technically a PT, but I've gone to an Open, I've gone to a GP, I've sat across PT finalists and PT winners, and I beat them, and that feeling taking the match lift from them is different than beating them online, seeing LSV on the
I don't think
screen.
No, you can just message them.
I felt great when I can't remember what pro I beat, and it wasn't Pascal Maynard, I don't think. He beat me in the New York one with Spirits.
Oh, buddy Mike beat Seth Manfield.
Yeah, I beat a
the
pro.
weekly championship.
Yeah, I beat a pro in one of the Lotus Box events, and you better believe it still felt just as good as it
Yeah,
would have in paper,
beating
if
a
not
pro.
better.
I remember I'm schooling San Sayed. I don't know if some people don't consider him a pro or anything, but he's one of the top grinders on the SCG tour for sure. So he's like the captain of Lotus
Yeah, he's
Box,
very
which is
good.
a very
Yeah.
top team right now.
Yep.
I smacked him around on Marina. Don't mean I'm better by any means, but it
Still
still
feels
felt,
good.
It felt
You still
awesome.
beat him. It doesn't matter if you're doing it online or in paper at all. It's the same thing.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, I think your reasoning has holes in it. Just know you're playing
I
tonight.
think it's more than holes. I think it's just wrong. But anyway.
Yeah. But no, as of we're staying right now, we're gonna be playing this 4 a.m., which is looking like it's gonna be in 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
So we got some time for James to figure out what he's gonna play. We're gonna load up his arena when we get done with this, so we can have a gander. But nonetheless, beyond that, I think we'll just do a little preview of what next week.
Yeah.
Next week we're gonna have teammate Dewey on the podcast with us.
Teammate and captain, I guess. Really.
Yeah, pretty much
Team
the captain.
founder.
Yeah. Yep. Our
So that's
register OG.
Yeah, so that's gonna be really cool. Talking about the
Mental
mentality
health,
that you need to have.
Yeah, mental health
in the game.
and the gathering, because this game has a mental toll on it. We're going to talk about like how you can keep your mental health, because unfortunately we've lost some players due to like mental health in the last year or two, by unfortunately some of them taking their own lives, because mental health is huge. It gets ignored too much, and that's something we want to talk a little bit about. And the game does involve your mental health. Like when you're so dedicated to being good because you're grinding, it can just take such a toll on you that
it
now results you're so result oriented. I've had issues with it.
Yeah, and we spent a lot of time talking about the grind. Like that severely alters how you live your life in general too.
So, I basically scheduled my life, my work schedule around being able to play.
And that affects your mental health. Like,
because a lot of people think that's weird as heck, man. Like I remember, I've lost relationships with friends, and
there's friends now I don't talk to anymore. Hardly because I'm like, hey, I play Magic,
or people who just don't.
Magic. The amount of time you have to dedicate to be good at Magic doesn't really leave room for a second hobby.
Yep, I agree.
It's just like a sport, really. If you think about guys who are like in the NBA or the NFL,
we're no different than people trying to grind to become like an NFL player,
or a pro wrestler, whatever.
They're putting all their time in. Like, look at it, like an MMA fighter.
Yeah,
they're putting all the time into training, into doing these expeditions, which that's what tournaments are to us. They're expeditions, trying to get noticed, trying to have that one big break. We're trying to look for our big break.
To really be great at something in life, you really kind of have to make it a lifestyle if you actually want to excel beyond the average person, I think, and usually, unless you're just incredibly gifted. So, that's going to be a really fun podcast for sure.
I agree.
I think that'll be a good one. So.
Well, nonetheless, it will be fun. We'll have that up probably next Friday for sure.
Yep.
Maybe next week will be a little bit later because it depends on when we get to it. But my plan is still to be that we're going to be launching these every Friday is when I'm going to be loading these.
Cool.
So I'd like to have them done on Fridays. James, it's been a pleasure. I know you enjoyed being with us. He's actually hanging out with us for a while, so we can go ahead and place.
Yeah, maybe we can get him to do the 4 a.m. tomorrow too. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. You never know.
Anyway, James, do you have anything to add before we take off here?
Can I play Pioneer Vampires? Can I do that in Arena?
We can try making you a mono black Lurus deck, I guess.
We'll see.
All right.
Well, we'll find you a deck. It's gonna be a good deck. There's also Gruul.
Okay.
I don't think James would play Gruul in any format either, to be honest. It doesn't seem like a James.
I think
he's gonna sign up.
I think I had him tempted with Blue White Control.
He's gonna sign up for this tournament.
I felt it.
He's gonna sign up for this tournament and get DC'd game 1.
Yeah, he probably will. We all will. That'll be the best.
Yeah, because if one gets DC'd, we all get DC'd.
Yeah. Larry's probably going to go unplug the Ethernet and just kill everybody, or unplug the internet just to really troll.
If I'm about to win, Larry's going to pull it for sure. It's done. It's
Oops,
over.
The internet's gone.
You said you didn't want it. This PT don't mean nothing anyway.
Anyway, everyone, thanks for listening in.
I think if anything, despite Wizards, not being able to manage the game, and the fact that Larry and Kakarot is who I spend my time with, and I'm still playing the game. That's how good the game is.
Yeah, Magic's great. It's going to have its hiccups, but we're still going to be here. But until next time, this is Larry.
This was Talking Swish with Stephen Dykman, Larry Fields, and
James Johnson.
Yep.
Until next time, we will see you later.